The new coronavirus numbers are in from the Louisiana Department of Health, and it's not the biggest number we've seen, but it's still fairly large. It's not as big as the numbers we've seen over the past few weeks. There were more than 1,700 new cases of COVID-19 reported since yesterday, bringing the total number of cases throughout the state at 112,773. There were 69 new deaths reported since yesterday. There have now been more than 3,700 deaths total in Louisiana. The number of COVID-19 related hospitalizations is down, and the number of people on ventilators is up. A new coronavirus testing site is now open at the UNO Lakefront Arena, which is different from other testing sites around the metro area. It's operated by the Department of Health and Human Services and the National Guard. Duke Carter has that story.
People have lined up here outside the UNO Lakefront Arena to get tested to find out whether or not they have the virus. And as you can see, the National Guard, Louisiana National Guard, is directing traffic to make sure the process here at the UNO Lakefront Arena can go as smooth as possible. But what we're going to learn from this case, though, is that the goal is to make sure that people can find out whether or not they have the virus faster. I want to show you what we're talking about, what we've seen so far. So according to medical experts at LSU, they tell us they are seeing an uptick with people who are coming to the hospital seeking treatment for the virus. They say a reason, well, people not wearing masks and not properly social distancing. So the big reason, though, well, large gatherings where the virus can spread quickly. Take a listen to what some LSU health experts said.
There were some well-publicized events of parties and well-publicized events of bars where there have been substantial transmission rates, and a lot of people have become infected by going to these things. The people may have felt well and they were spreading the virus, and that's not something that we can afford at this point. Hospitals in other parts of the state, major places like Baton Rouge in our state, are filling up, and we do not need to get to that point again here in the New Orleans area.
Now, the Louisiana National Guard is again directing a traffic here at the UNO Lakefront Arena drive-through testing site that will continue until 6 o'clock this afternoon. And according to New Orleans city leaders, this drive-through site is similar to how it was in Baton Rouge, where about 5,000 tests were offered daily. And while the site is here at UNO, it may be rotated to different universities to make sure people can find out whether or not they have the virus. But now reporting, Duke Carter, Eyewitness News.
Across this country, more than 150,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus, including more than 1,200 who were reported to have died just yesterday. And while some hard-hit states are starting to stabilize a bit, there's concern other states could see surges again. CBS's Danya Bacchus has that story from Los Angeles.
Hospitalizations are starting to stabilize in Florida, but the statewide positivity rate is still over 10%. In Brevard County, Florida, nearly 300 Bayside High School graduates, including Jocelyn Puma, have been advised to quarantine after someone tested positive at a high school graduation Saturday.
I was extremely devastated. I brought my grandparents there. My mother was there.
Florida is one of 21 states the White House Coronavirus Task Force has designated as a red zone because of its high number of cases. The task force is warning 5 nearby states could be next.
We're talking about the states that are starting to see a little bit curve upward. They've really got to jump all over that, because if they don't, then you might see the surge that we saw in some of the other southern states.
The task force is recommending those states adapt measures, including universal mask wearing and shutting down one key business.
Close the bars. That's where a lot of the transmission takes place.
In Alabama, another red zone state, Pastor Ricky Williams says after a 64-person church service earlier this month, 20 members of his church tested positive, including him and his wife.
We sprayed everything down to the best of our abilities. We had some had wore a mask on the inside, yes, and we distanced.
And despite also being a red zone state,
Daddy's proud of you, okay?
Some schools are back in session in Mississippi. Students have to wear masks in the halls and follow social distancing rules. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And as the U.S. struggles to try and contain the coronavirus pandemic, there are growing concerns about a possible new spike in Europe. Many of the new cases are tied to reopenings overseas. Europeans started flocking to beaches as lockdown restrictions were lifted. Some people are practicing social distancing, a lot of others are not. The lax attitude has seen cases in Spain quadruple in a month. To prevent returning vacationers from spreading COVID-19, the UK has introduced a 2-week quarantine for travelers coming in from Spain. France, Germany, and Belgium are also seeing an uptick in new infections in those countries. Here at home, the Louisiana Children's Museum announced it will close indefinitely amid the coronavirus pandemic. It's postponing daily museum visits starting Monday, August 17th, quote, until families are more confident about the health of this community. This comes just 2 months after the museum reopened with expanded health and safety measures, but they will be closing their doors for a while.